I'm sexy. We're live.
We're live now. Hey, everybody, and what's going on? And welcome to the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is episode number 134, your haven at the end of the week to kick back, relax, and listen to a bunch of chill guys just talk about gaming news and banter, all kinds of gaming news going on throughout the week. I'm your host, Invader, and we've got a bunch of news to discuss. But first, let me introduce everybody on tonight's panel. And of course, I hope everybody is having a wonderful long Memorial Day weekend. Jeremy, you first, bud. Happy long weekend to you, brother. How you been?
What's happening? Yo, my father came in for my birthday and surprised me. So, yeah, he came in. He was with my nephew. My nephew's actually he's 15 years old, and he's actually gonna work at the store I work with and help out for the summer. So that's exciting. He's gonna stay with me. But my father's here now. He leaves on Tuesday. So I got that going on. And today was the first time I've gamed in a while. So I only gamed for about an hour, but I got a chance to play game did I play? Oh my god. I'll get back to me on that one. I gotta remember exactly which one I played. It's been a while.
It's been a while. You heard it here, folks. It's been a while. Jeremy's not thinking right today. All right.
Nope.
Megatron, how you been, buddy? Have you been taking advantage of the long weekend?
Yeah, well, you know what? I did work a little bit today, and I worked a lot yesterday. I tried to play a little bit, but I tell you what, I remember the game that I was playing, man. Shaolin versus Wu-Tang.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome game, man. It really brings back a lot of great memories of the karate flicks we used to watch back in the day. You know, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, and it was those drive-in movie, Channel 5, I guess on the East Coast where it was, I guess tri-state area. It was just, man, nostalgia. It's hitting all the right notes. It's not the best game in the world. This is a lot of bugs, and but still, it's just something. It's the best $17 I spent this weekend. So yeah, Shaolin versus Wu-Tang. Check it out. Loving it so far.
All right. Yeah, so it's a fighting game, right?
Yeah, it's a fighting game. You know, old school karate flicks, you know, and got some Chuck Norris, little bit of everything. You want to say, just back from that era, you know. So,
right.
yeah, check it out. It's fun. I'm enjoying it so far.
Nice. All right, I definitely have to check that out then. Tim, buddy, I hope you're doing well. Ready to dive into things?
Tim, you muted, Tim?
Yeah, I'm actually, like I told you pre-show, I'm actually driving. My audio is not up to par. It's because I'm in the car. But, yeah, looking forward to the show. I played some After Party. I finished that game. And my friend Pedro last night, I saw Megatron. I was waiting for him to hit me up. But he didn't, thank God, because I was kind of tired. But other than that, maybe we'll game tonight. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Now, you were talking. I think you had mentioned something on Twitter about the loading screens for that game. Are they like really bad?
I think the whole there's a lot of like, if you play the game, you'll notice what I'm talking about. There's a lot of like dropping, and it seems like everything is loading in the background, especially when you take the taxi or when you go from location to location. You could tell the way the game's designed. It's lagging behind. I mean, this performance-wise, honestly, it's not good at all. Unless it's like I got a bad version, but it's really running rough for me. Aside from that, it's not a game that you there's no precision involved. It's basically click A to answer a question or to say something. But overall, if you like that game, what was the game that was the same type of game with the Oxenfree? Maybe it's called.
Yeah, I think it's from the same dev.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing as that, but it's kind of like with the darker humor and it's a kind of a take on that. Other than that, if you like that game, if you like Oxenfree, you'll like this game. But it's just we'll talk about Game Pass in a second. But just one of those games that I'd never play if I didn't have Game Pass. But since I have it and it's in there, I gave it a try. I actually ended up finishing it.
Nice. Yeah, I tried it too. I thought it was okay. Like I didn't really get through it. I don't think it's for me per se, but it's definitely got some interesting dialogue and art style, and I might get back to it at some point. Shock Buddy, you're up next. How's your long weekend been?
It's been pretty good. Luckily, I have automatically Memorial Day off at my job, so that's nice. I forget what it now. Now Jeremy's got that contagious. Can't remember anything that was just out of my mind 2 seconds ago. Man,
I looked at my phone. I was like, lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that's exactly what just happened.
So I was playing Man Eater, which is actually a pretty good game. It's actually a pretty good game.
I got that game downloading right now.
Yeah, it's a good game. You guys will like it. It's pretty. It's mindless fun. So it's pretty good.
Oh, so that game that you were talking shit about us giving away a couple of weeks ago. Oh, really?
Yeah. I was just giving you a hard time about it, but those types of games, those quirky games, especially if they have like RPG elements, are pretty good. So that one's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely remember now. It was Injustice 2. I finally went back to. I stopped before they released all those extra characters, and I know I had purchased the season pass for all the characters they put in it. But man, they make it really hard on Xbox. Like normally your managed downloads, it'll have all your DLC you've ever gotten. But yet I had to actually go in the store, go find some of the packs and like issue them to download right there. So it's like kind of annoying, but got into some Justice and some Killer Instinct a little bit. That the combat in that game is so satisfying. I don't know why it's not like more popular. It's definitely probably the funnest fighting game out there, in my opinion, when you're actually the gameplay mechanics.
All these fighting games you're mentioning, you didn't try the Shaolin versus Wu-Tang? It's probably past your time, though, man. But,
yeah, I don't know. I played Shaq Fu back in the day, but that's
big
so,
difference.
After that, I just probably missed it.
Too funny. Yeah, lots of fighting games coming up. That's interesting.
Well, that Mortal Kombat DLC. Did you see that stuff with RoboCop and whatever else? That looks pretty good too.
That RoboCop.
Yeah, I saw RoboCop and Mortal Kombat. I had to start laughing. I'm like, yeah, and it's also 1980s RoboCop. It's not the remake RoboCop too.
It's the best one, man.
Yeah,
I think it's cool. It's just $40 though. It's kind of steep.
It is, but that's cool though. Like the trailer that they showed off for that got me hyped. I mean, I don't have Mortal Kombat, but man, that really sent the nostalgia feels just skyrocketing. So very interesting. Centurion, or as I like to call you now, 50 Centurion. How you been, bud?
What is up, man? I'm doing great. Still tackling the backlog. Like I said, I got Maneater in the download queue right now, and I have also discovered the secret to time travel is not a flux capacitor. It is an SSD drive with one that you can do apparently with the right SSD drive you can do anything there, kids. Sorry, that was like an inside joke for me. Tim Dog at least gets it. That's what I'm loving about it. Tim Dog gets it right there.
I had somebody hit me up with another SSD post. I mean, I've never seen so much talk about SSD in my life, but it just
like there really has to be a meme of somebody with the DeLorean and they have to Photoshop an SSD drive in the back where the flux capacitor goes, because apparently with that, there you go, right there.
Yeah, definitely.
If you guys, Tim, if you remember, I used to have the when the Elite Xbox came out, launching with the SSD card built inside the system. I believe it was a 500 gigabyte. And I didn't see. I mean, obviously the technology's changed since then, but I didn't see a significant difference in download.
It would load faster.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, but
yeah, but that's the thing. It's just like people think they're going to get these gargantuan gains, especially in the graphics end of it. I think a lot of people really have their heads blown up about this and not grasping what's the reality of it. And I think that there'll come a time when, like people out there really believe PS5 is more powerful than Xbox Series X. And I know that we're an Xbox podcast.
Well, yeah.
But
I know that article. I know that article put things to rest easily. I forgot exactly.
I mean, when the games, I think I'm very, very confident that when the games come out, and they're playing the same game, there's going to be a difference, and it's going to favor Xbox. I think that's going to put a lot of the.
I don't know, Tim. What about Grassgate, Tim? What about Grassgate?
Oh my God!
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see.
Well, they got to woo us over with their own grass, right? So,
yeah.
We'll see what happens. But moving on, fellas. Now, before we get into tonight's topics, I would like to make a bit of a special announcement. Now, TXR, along with 3 other community podcasts, those being Four Guys with Quarters, the original Next Level Gaming, and the Retro Renegades podcast, have formed a sort of collaborative group, you could say. And it's called the Gamers United Guild. And it's to support the positive community shows out there. And we have a lot of respect for these shows, whether it's through interviews, group analysis, and whatever banter that goes on in these shows and whatnot. And we just want to highlight the quality shows out there, shine a spotlight on them for their creativity. And you know what? We've even got a logo or a badge whipped up by the very talented graphic god J-Dubs. He's actually in the chat. And I am going to share this right now.
Yeah, it looks good. J-Dub looks really good, man. Good job.
Let's see. There we go.
Nice.
Time to unveil this sucker. Gamers United Guild. You got Next Level Gaming, Retro Renegades, Four Guys with Quarters, and the TXR Podcast. Now, again, guys, like if you see this floating around, it's to help bring awareness to our constructive shows. And who knows, you may see some inter-show activities in the coming future. Stay tuned for more, and definitely check out these unique podcasts, NLG, Retro Renegades, and Four Guys with Quarters. Very, very awesome groups, and definitely support these guys.
I'll never forget the time where Four Guys with Quarters and TXR Podcast, that was back in the day when we had Rand and Maka. They challenged us to a soccer cars match, and Rocket League, and I think we got annihilated, to be honest. But I think we held our own for a little while, and in the end, they pulled away. But that was good. I think maybe we should do something like that. I don't know. Megatron might fall asleep in the process, but
here we go.
Do something.
Starting early in the show. Hey, actually, I woke up when I saw that the price of Man-Eater was $39.99. I thought it was on GamePass at first. But if anybody's balling enough to want to pick that up for me, go ahead.
No, definitely. Yeah,
that's when I met you guys, though. I think. I mean, was that the same time when Phil was playing? I mean,
yeah, you were on the. In fact, I think I don't know if it was a day before, or a day after Phil jumped on. We played with Phil, and you got on, and then
I was going to say, why does it have to be soccer cars? What about some good old-fashioned team-building Rainbow Six Siege?
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. I don't care. Dude, I've played that game with friends and, versus, and that game just breeds hate. That's why I would never play that game against friends.
Well, at that time when I keep wanting to say soccer cars, but Rocket League, when that came out, though, that was the whole big
soccer cars.
That was so controversial. Why is it?
Soccer cards.
Yeah.
Why is it on an Xbox? And it was kicking butt, with sales and everything, I guess, or on the PlayStation. And they got it for free at that time, I think. And eventually at that time it finally came out. And I think also that was when Mooch was saying he'll never buy it. Somebody had to gift it to him or whatever. So I remember
it's still a really popular game.
It's still fun. My son just
Yeah.
picked it up. My son's been playing it. I think we have another Xbox downstairs, and he loves that game. So
It's a great game. It's a great game. So many gameplay possibilities. It's a great game.
I love the Back to the Future car, and it starts lighting up whenever you hit that boost. Has those flames in the back on like you're going down the street.
Yeah, great Scott. Yeah, no, definitely. We should have a soccer cars night, a Rocket League. We can do. Hey, Jeremy might like this. Even Sea of Thieves night.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, maybe a man-eater night.
Maybe. Actually, wait. I don't think there's any multiplayer in that. It's just a single player, if I'm not mistaken.
I was just joking.
I know, but it just.
She's a man eater.
That's every time I think of this of that when we talk about this.
That
I think
song.
of that song every time.
Oh man, yeah. But all right, guys. I think with all that out of the way, we will get into tonight's first topic. And it seems like Xbox Game Pass just keeps growing. Like there's no end in sight. And according to a recent article, Xbox Game Pass is leading one of its biggest competitors, PS Now, by about a 4-1 margin. PS Now has about 2.2 million users, while Xbox Game Pass has well over 10 million users. Now, it's a very impressive number, especially when you take into account the PlayStation 4's dominance over the Xbox One in console sales this gen alone. Now, Tim, I'm going to head straight to you on this one. Why is Xbox Game Pass, the service, just so much more popular despite the gap in the console sales?
Well, you have to realize two things. It was out a lot of PSN or Now has been out a lot longer than Xbox Game Pass. I think that Sony never really took it seriously until they saw what Game Pass did. Game Pass came in, they put out a bold service, and it was doing well, of what you would think, and then they doubled down on it, and they put all their first-party games on it, as we know, day and date. And, one of the big reasons is that people learned about that, so you wouldn't have to buy a $60 game every 4 months. You could just buy this service. So that was one of the things that propelled them to a lead. People say the dollar service, the dollar thing, the dollar conversion. While that's true, from what I've heard, that when they first started it, which was in May of 2019, they have regained a majority of those customers. So even though people are signing up for the dollar, they're sticking on to the service. As you know, it's a one-time deal. You can convert your existing Xbox Live. So that propelled them to the lead. Sony in the last year has made strides. They changed the pricing system. They actually added some third-party, titles that were pretty big. They recently had Control in the service. But I just think overall, I think Microsoft has been a lot more aggressive about it. They made it a part of their ecosystem. And I just don't think Sony was ever that serious about it. And now I think that they're beginning to get serious about it. And with the flick of a switch, if Sony goes day and date with their games, even though that's, something that people say won't happen, but if they do, they're going to probably exceed Xbox Game Pass just based on their first party, I would say dominance at this point, and the fact that they have more of a global brand recognition advantage over Xbox. So that's up to them when they want to do it. And I do think that is going to happen probably, maybe not in the first 2 years. But that's what I attribute the lead to. I believe in the quarter one, not quarter two, they were over 10 million. They just didn't want to say, because if they said that they were over 10 million, obviously third parties going to be queued in and they're going to want more of their share. They're going to make getting games secured for third party that much harder because they know that they're making that much money. So I'd say that they're over 12, 13 million at this point, and I think that they're looking to be over 15 million by Halo. So it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and it is a part of Xbox's ecosystem full force.
And not to mention, doesn't it perform better too? I mean, so it's a streaming service, PS Now, as opposed to where Microsoft has theirs situation. You're actually able to download the game,
and that's exactly it. Most people still think it's stream only. Sony's problem.
You can download the games on PlayStation Now also.
Okay, now you can. Yeah. Now you can. Okay,
yeah. But still, most people don't know that, and that's their issue on getting out that message. People still think it's just stream only.
Right. Well, I can make the argument, Tim, that on paper, PlayStation Now is a better product. I can make that argument because number one, it has over 650 titles.
Super old games.
The old games that nobody wants to play.
That's still 650 games. 500 of those that Xbox doesn't have.
I mean, the paywall for backwards compatibility.
That's the thing is that Xbox has backwards compatibility to combat that point, and that's free. So.
Right, but there's 650 games. A lot of those games are really good games. Spider-Man, Bloodborne. Say what you want about those games. Ni no Kuni, but I can go down that list. That a lot of these games that Control was one of them. What you just said. Resident Evil 7. I mean, there's so many games on there that, again, Xbox platform doesn't have, and you're still getting those games, 650 games for $10. Again, you can make art. It's what? It's still.
Never mind. They did lower it down to 10.
That's if you buy the year service.
It was 20. It lowered it down to 10 recently.
Don't let Jeremy talk.
You buy the year service, it's $69.99 or something.
No. So, I mean, you can still make that argument, but I think what Tim was saying was true. I think they didn't put emphasis on the product itself, and now that they're starting to do that, a lot of that help. I'm not sure why Sony put God of War on there and then took it off. I think they received a lot of criticism and just hoopla over the fact that God of War was on there. And
it was temporary to begin with when they announced it.
Spider-Man 2, it's just 3 months. That's what they're doing for all of their big major games. If they go in there, it's 3 months. They call it premium. They have a name for it for their first-party games that are entering in there. I forget what it's like. Premium. I don't forget what it is.
Can you blame Sony for not taking it serious in the beginning? Because during the beginning of PS Now, that was a total different world. We were just getting out of the whole idea of DRM and locking games down to consoles and stuff. So people all of a sudden had planted themselves firmly in the sand saying, no, we want to own our games. And so they had no interest in what was essentially like a Netflix or game rental service.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's night and day from when they first started out, PSN, and now
what was Downer saying though? I didn't mean to interrupt him.
No, I was just saying, making the case that you could say that it's a better product on paper, but I'm not saying that's not true. But on paper, you can make that argument.
On paper, not really. When you actually see on paper that we'll put it on paper right now. Xbox on paper, you could take a disc from even all the way back into the original OG Xbox and stick it into a current Xbox, and as long as it's part of the backwards compatibility titles, that disc will work. With PlayStation,
that's only a handful of games, but
it's only a handful of games. But PlayStation PlayStation, it's none of their games. See that that's on paper. Like it's just like none of their games. So it's just like, well, I could see if you didn't own any of these games, how PlayStation would be the better value because you're like, oh my god, I'll have access to all these games. But if you're an avid game collector that has a huge, extensive library, and you're like, well, I already own all these games. Why can't I put the disc in? And so that's where I see the other half of it on paper is I don't believe that PlayStation should be locking those games behind a paywall if you own the disc. If you own the disc, you should be able to slap that thing in and there's your license.
I know what you're saying about the options, but let's be honest, there's only just a small percentage of people who go back and play those kinds of games. Very small percentage. I'm not going back. You're not. So you're telling me as soon as the Series X comes out, you're going to burn your entire Xbox One library? To be honest, I don't have any physical copies of games. I have
so you're going to just delete your account because backwards compatibility is starting to become a big thing. Because look at the size of like our digital libraries. You're just going to throw that in. No, it's all right. New generation.
Yeah, well, I mean, even from a third-party perspective, I think Xbox is doing a better job. If you look at games like Street Fighter 4 that just came out, My Friend Pedro, even the bigger games, Red Dead Redemption 2, they've done, I think, a better job considering that too. They've had more indies. They've been more on top of the service than Sony has been, and like you said, even though it's good to have God of War there, I just think that they should just leave it there.
I agree.
Them taking it out after three months hurts the service. So I don't know. I don't know how serious they're going to get, but the fact of the matter is that if Xbox keeps building on what it's doing with this, you're talking about, when we did the math, and we're not going to do it again, but you're talking about $1 billion worth of revenue a year, and that can fund. Think about how many. Think about first of all when people say, "Well, are the Xbox developers getting paid for this? Are they getting paid? Like I'm worried about them." There's no reason to worry about them because
they do get paid.
In fact, they do get paid.
Getting paid more than Gearbox.
That is a non-issue because when you're bringing in that type of money, there's ways that obviously the developer can get compensated in many different ways, but they're making money, and I just think that Microsoft honestly took it serious from the beginning, where Sony was in a situation where they started and it was streaming, which was cool, but it didn't really hit off like they would have. And then they saw what Xbox GamePass was doing, and they kind of transitioned into that. But if they really want to get serious, I just think that they got to take the service more seriously. And why not? I mean, if I'm looking at their library and I'm looking at everything, I don't think that it hurts gamers to have a Game Pass or to have a PSN. Now that just gives you a plethora of games to play. It's just the way it's going to be. You have Stadia as well, or Stadia. They're doing the same thing. They're offering a ton of games too. And, they're going to keep pushing the envelope too. So
Sony doesn't even give you the
if they want to really get serious, they're going to have to push it.
Can I at least throw it out there? Do we expect Sony to duplicate Xbox exactly? I do believe each company should try to differentiate themselves from not being exactly like their competition. So if PlayStation feels they want to treat certain games on a premium level and kind of shell game them in and out of the service, I guess that's just one of the I don't want to say pitfalls, but that's just one of the differences in the features of the services. Definitely, it's kind of like you want to be on the best-selling platform, 100 million sold. Go over to Sony where you're going to get these amazing first-party single-player experiences. If you want to go over to where there's a more emphasis on the network and a little bit more stability when it comes to the quality of that network, and yeah, it's not the most selling console on the market, but it's a pretty tight community over there, and Xbox, and they also have some pretty good multiplayer games as well if you want to go out and be social.
Yeah,
so
you
I mean, like
Cliffy?
there's total night and day differences of just how they function. So I don't expect Sony to duplicate Game Pass exactly. They're trying to find, I guess, their own niche to kind of compete, but also at the same way make their own service.
Yeah, it's nice that they all three are going out the market, in a different way. So they're all not doing the exact same thing. But it's funny that Sony doesn't give you the PS4 versions of The Last of Us or Uncharted Collection.
Yeah, that's
they make you make you pay the PS3
at the end of the day, they
version
can definitely
on
put
PS Now.
something out there that's beneficial to the consumer and that's different than.
Oh yeah. So like, what if Sony all of a sudden does something with PS Now that's absolutely freaking mind blowing and totally different than Microsoft? That's Microsoft will notice and be like, oh, maybe we should try that. So like what Shockley was saying, the competition and the differences in the programs, one's going to be, basically one will be showing the other guy what and what not to do. It's kind of like a balancing.
And I think that's what Tim was saying in regards to, some of these first party titles that are coming out. If they come out day and date, I think that gives a leg up for Sony, in the Xbox platform.
Could you imagine if The Last of Us 2 dropped on PS Now? I mean, that's going to really grab some numbers and attention from a lot of people. I don't care what side of the fence you play on, but yeah.
And you're going to see these numbers increase as the Halo comes out in December. If it comes out in December, you're going to see a massive increase and a push for Game Pass subscribers. Because once it comes out on PC, is it coming out on PC day and date as with console or no later on?
Do we know yet? As we know, like they haven't really.
All first-party titles have.
That's not exactly true. I mean, we're still waiting for Gears Tactics for console.
Well, I mean, all of them have come to PC either first or at the same time.
Yeah,
true, but they haven't really said any. They haven't stated anything. They've kept their mouths pretty tight with regards
Gears
to.
Did, and I can't see them not doing it with all this build up with Master Chief Collection building up to November. They'd be stupid not to just go on that momentum for the PC and Steam.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how much increase Game Pass improves. The months coming up with the launch of Halo and some of these other titles that are coming out.
Absolutely. And then you look at the scope of even Project xCloud as well. I mean, that's another feather in Microsoft's Game Pass coming very soon. And people forget, I mean, PlayStation Now, it's only available in a select amount of countries, whereas Game Pass, it's actually available in 40 countries right now, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it needs to be the next step as far as downloading an app and getting it up and running with some of these games. I think that still needs to happen event this year. I mean, maybe we're going to see it at E3. I'm not E3, but what's that, Summerfest or whatever they call it. So I think that needs to happen. Or during the Xbox event, they definitely need to have some news regarding the TV app, if there is one.
They definitely need to work out something with Apple because that's a huge part of gigantic part of the market. Like,
yeah, that's a big hurdle.
xCloud.
Yeah, that's a big hurdle right now. I mean, as you can see, those who have I don't even know if they updated the game
one
list.
Game. It's still one.
That's horrible.
Really?
And that's not going to get it done in today's market. Especially when there's how many Apple users in the market right now? I mean, there's a lot.
Oh yeah, there's a crap ton. Definitely. Yeah, they definitely gotta go after that. But
I can see the reason why too. Apple's putting their own product out, which is Apple Arcade, which is a good service. And they have some nice little titles on there. However, it's nothing compared to what's offered with Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Vodka in the chat.
Yeah.
Don't forget longevity. That's why Sony tries to go so into single player games and bad network. So,
Yeah.
good comment. Good comment. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Jeremy. They need to be more aggressive going forward and, try and get some more partnerships going to expand their reach. So,
Yeah.
it has very impressive numbers, and it'll be interesting to see with the launch of next gen and Halo Infinite. Those numbers, as you said, should skyrocket. But all right, guys, we're gonna move on to our next topic, and that is Minecraft Dungeons is on the cusp of being released, and I believe it's actually on the 26th of May, so in 1 or 2 days time. So very soon. We're nearly there. And we've started to see some reviews just trickle in for it. And as of right now, we're seeing, generally favorable reviews. Now, Metacritic, I'll use Metacritic right now, is seeing scores in the high 70s just across the board. So they're looking pretty good for the co-op dungeon crawler just early on right now, how it's tracking. Centurion, I'll head to you first on deck with this one. Do you think that this will turn out as a success for Xbox Game Studios, or will this game just be gone soon after it releases?
I'm really hoping so I think it's going to be a success for the Minecraft fans, and I know there's a serious amount of Minecraft fans out there. So when you sent me the topics, and I will be truthful, I never played the original Minecraft. Minecraft Dungeons does kind of like pique my interest. I do want to check it out. Now, I've never really played a dungeon crawler. I've actually got my brother wanting to do Diablo 3 with me for the first time ever. So that's probably going to be my first experience. But the one thing I liked about reading the reviews and watching the reviews from people that were fans of Minecraft, and we'll get into the non-fans in a second. So in reading their reviews, they definitely call it my first dungeon crawler. If you've never experienced a dungeon crawler franchise, this is definitely going to be a game for you. They say there's not really too much to kind of overwhelm you, and that's where some of the people are like, oh, it's a vanilla kind of game. Well, wasn't the original Minecraft a kind of vanilla style game? It wasn't something overwhelming, and at the same time, I'm not trying to be a jerk in what I say, but it's a children's game. So can we please stop expecting like these adult-oriented mechanics in something that does have kids in mind at the end of the day? Come on, you can go get your Minecraft teddy bears at your local Walmart. So I don't really see them making this game too overwhelming for a child. But when you listen to the difference in the reviews from people that are grading it from an adult perspective and the actual Minecraft perspective of being a fan, total night and day difference. When you listen to the Minecraft fans talk about this game, they talk about how you're seeing all the characters that have been in the original Minecraft game being used as enemies, and it feels exactly like a Minecraft game, and they're just really excited for what it's bringing to the actual Minecraft, what's the franchise, the entire world itself. And the one thing that is disturbing me, though, is you brought up the reviews, and I really do not like Metacritic. I sent you that image.
I'll put it up now.
Yeah, so this is actually something that was given to me by another community member. It's just like a representation. It's not actual fact, but it kind of shows how we used to grade games compared in the early 2000s to what now Metacritic does. And I'm not a big fan of what they do because a couple guys actually rated the game at an 8, but because of Metacritic's supposed great algorithm, that game got an automatic 80 because it takes their 8 and just automatically signs it as 80. It doesn't boost it above that. And in my opinion, that's why the numbers right now are down in the 70s, all because of the Metacritic algorithm. So I really do believe this isn't like a game of the year title, but I do believe it belongs to be up there in the 80s, 81, 82. From what I've seen, purely because it looks like a very well-crafted game. It's going to definitely lead. What's the word I'm looking for? It's going to definitely add to the franchise. It does it justice. It's definitely what the fans were kind of looking for, something different in the Minecraft world. What do you think, Downer? Did any of you guys play the original Minecraft? I never did. So I have no
I
base.
spoke about this before. My kids are into it,
Yeah.
and they've been pulling me in. But just 4-player co-op action is something I'm definitely looking forward to.
So my take on Minecraft is simple. You referred to it as the kids game. And yes, in theory,
I don't want to see. I'm not trying to like label it a kids game. I just got to remember at the end of the day, when the guy who is designing this game thinks about it, he has to remember that there is a kid at the end of the spectrum.
yeah, you know what? I mean, I would have to disagree with you on that one, and just that part, because Minecraft is a game for everybody. And what I mean by that is it has a unique depth to that. Is that it's unmatched. I mean, I've said this before about Minecraft, where on the surface it looks like a kiddie block game, and once you dig deeper in it, there's a lot of depth to Minecraft.
No, you're right. I think the same goes that.
And I think the same goes for Minecraft Dungeon. Yes, it looks on the surface, it looks like a kid's game. But when you look at it, I mean, we're talking about mobs coming in. We're talking about a massive loot system, which is appealing to not only casual players but experienced players in the dungeon.
Did you read some of the reviews?
Crawler? I did not read.
Some of them were complaining that. Some of them were complaining that basically, if you were an experienced dungeon crawler, this game didn't have as much depth in it as Diablo 3. And that was where I was like, wow, okay. So that's where I will say, you're right. I shouldn't label it as a kid's game. Inclusive is a way better way of they basically want to include as many people as possible without overwhelming them. And I will say it right now, from what I've seen of Diablo 3, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to like learn a whole new skill set.
Yeah, Diablo definitely has a real steep learning curve if you're not familiar with the actual game
to Diablo. They really do.
No, that's horrible. And it baffles me that you've never played a dungeon crawler before in your life. That baffles me. So
I know, whatever. I'm over here in the bushes with the frauds, right?
Sure, you've played Gauntlet Legends. I know that's very primitive, but I'm sure you've played that back in the day.
You know what people love about Diablo is the just the hardcore element to it. Mm-hmm. On top of that, the combat mechanics is varied and it's nice. You can build your character to. It's not just the loot you pick up, but you can build your character. It's just unique in terms of that. But I think there's a lot of upside to Minecraft Dungeons where they can add, just add to his games as service. And keep adding to it and making it better. And I think that's what's going to happen with this particular product. So,
definitely. And I've looked at a lot of the reviews, including Jez Cordon's from Windows Central, and they've been noticing quite a few. I guess there's room for expansion that you might be able to say. So I think they plan to really support this long term, from the looks of it, and they have no reason not to.
There's a deluxe for okay. So here's also another thing. I read in one of the articles. This game is like $20. Like the big or the deluxe version of the game is $30, and with that you're getting, I guess, some kind of season pass that's going to come with an actual story expansion eventually. So they're already planning to expand this, which is absolutely. So basically, they're already letting you know that this is going to be a long-term game for them. This isn't just going to be a one and done.
But I can tell you this: I'm going to be playing this game pretty heavily when it comes out.
This Tuesday, right?
With my kids, they love Minecraft, and I love Minecraft, and I'm going to be playing it day one for a very long time.
Definitely. Well, I already have it pre-installed. I'll admit I'm not I don't know. Vanilla Minecraft just doesn't do it for me. A buddy of mine wants to co-op it with me sometime, but I've tried the Minecraft story mode as well. I thought it was okay, but I'll admit like the Telltale kind of formula doesn't really work for me. But this with the Diablo style dungeon crawling and just all the intricacies and just the way that it looks, it does get me interested with that co-op aspect, and it looks like a lot of fun. So I will definitely be trying it out. We should get a TXR game night for it. Actually,
I was gonna say I'll download it and play it with you guys definitely.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's out of the box 4 players online. I'm not sure. I think it's only 2.
I want
player.
Really?
It is 4 player online. I know it's co-op. In your house 4 players, but I'm not sure if there's 4 players.
I'm pretty
I don't know.
sure.
It is.
The IGN thing I watched, they said it's not only 4-player co-op, 4-player co-op, but it's also drop in, drop out.
Oh, nice. And I think that's why this game's going to be hugely successful, just based off that.
No, absolutely. And I think what you're thinking of is we had talked about this before, that it would not support matchmaking. So that might be what it is.
Yeah. All right, maybe that was it.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, if you don't have a lot of friends playing it, that might be a drag. But at the same time, maybe I understand why they wouldn't want to, because again, the game does kind of skew a little bit younger, as Centurion was saying. But at the same time, I mean, okay, I say that, but then Jeremy brings up a good point that it does. All ages do really enjoy the game, so maybe they could patch that in at some point.
So I'm just gonna say it like this. Games that have a much larger demographic when it comes to age range of the actual demographic that company wants playing that game. Like, I understand small children play play Grand Theft Auto 5, but Rockstar Games is not building Grand Theft Auto 5 for small children. So
then again, every parent lets their kid play Fortnite, and
that too, yeah. So I'm just saying, but when you broaden the age of your demographic, the more that means you have to make your product more family friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a couple of reviews. But I think a couple of reviewers actually said that it even appeals to the hardcore dungeon crawler. Some of the reviews, and I didn't read a single review, but I read bits and pieces of them, where they said it appeals to the hardcore. So,
definitely. Sorry, Shock. Did you have something to say?
No, I was saying even Nintendo does matchmaking, so with like all their Splatoon, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So they should add it in later, but hopefully.
Yeah, it would be, because it is a little bit of a drag if you have like no friends really to play with, and it is you might like the whole concept of it, but then it's like, well, I don't really have many people to play it with, so it would be, that would be a nice update in the future. But otherwise, yeah, guys, let's definitely get down and play some Minecraft Dungeons later in the week. Sound good?
I'm down. I'm down for whenever to play some games with you guys.
All right,
yeah, I'm down. Let's play. I'll play anything.
And actually, the game doesn't even take up that much space. I think it's only like 2 gigs.
Yeah, so. And then also an actual like first run playthrough. If you were like, they say you could grind that game out in about 5 or 6 hours, and if you explore around and just kind of look at everything and do everything there is to do, you can about double that first playthrough. And then after that, you get access to the difficulty settings, and you can start dialing up the difficulty.
That's some hardcore block game. I don't know. I don't know if I can get into that much blocking, but you know what, guys, I am looking forward to trying it out. And again, that's like unusual for me to say with a Minecraft product, but I am. And that's not, I'm not even crapping on the game franchise. I'm just saying that this does really appeal to me. So I think a lot of people are going to be tempted to try this out, especially with it being on Game Pass. And it's on everything too. It's coming out on Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. There's going to be a huge pool.
Is it going to be crossplay, by the way? Does anybody know if there's going to be a crossplay?
No, I think because there's no matchmaking, it's probably not, but don't quote me on it. Who knows?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, don't quote me on this either. I don't think so at first, but I mean, if they do institute some kind of or implement a matchmaking feature in the near future, don't be surprised if there is crossplay. So that would be interesting. I'd like to see that. But all right, guys, we will move on to the next bit of news. And hey, everybody knows Cliff Bleszinski. He's one of the minds behind creating the Gears of War franchise. And he recently made a statement basically saying that, well, he regrets not bringing over the hero shooter LawBreakers to the Xbox One. Now, over Twitter, he said that it was a mistake to release LawBreakers on PlayStation 4 instead of the Xbox One, and that it would have made much more sense to do so. Now, in case everybody doesn't know, LawBreakers came out in August of 2017, and it received, well, very, very, very mixed reviews and a relatively small player count right off the bat. And his studio, Bosky, well, they ended up closing. They closed down in about May. Yeah, like basically, well, in May of 2018, yeah, but not too long after. Now, Megatron, I'm gonna head to you with this one, bud. Now, I know you have some comments about Cliffy B, especially with some past stuff. But do you believe that Cliffy B made a mistake not releasing LawBreakers on the Xbox One?
I think so, man. I think it was a big mistake because you had huge fans on Xbox that followed his work, rightfully so, because of Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, and he mucked up. I think he should have just said, "Hey, I'm going to take my time," and instead of going with the larger install base, he should have, just developed the game for all three platforms at the same time, which was PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. I don't know. I think he right now is just trying to sell his book, and he can probably care less. I think he should have. His reasons for not putting it on Xbox was because it was hard to develop for, or whatever. It took the time. He didn't have the resources, and he jumped into some comments with. If I'm not mistaken, Mike Ybarra. Mike Ybarra pretty much shut it down, if I'm not mistaken, and said that teenagers can do this with no problem. And so I just think it was definitely...
Teenagers do what with no problem? What do you mean?
Develop games for
Xbox. He was just saying that he didn't have the resources, but if he's developing the game for PC, through Windows 10, it's easy to have that come right over to Xbox, because Xbox essentially is Windows 10. So I don't know. I just think he made a mistake. He realizes it, and it's kind of coming clean. So, and I love the trailer. I was impressed by the trailer when he showed it, and was disappointed when he just went the direction he took. And unfortunately, it's fun to make fun of. I get why people would tease him a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of felt bad that his work kind of just went to crap a little.
I think it was more so Cliffy B's game came out at a bad time when there was just too many arena shooters, Smite-like game. There was a lot of that circulate, and some of the ones that did it well did it better than LawBreakers. Not to say that LawBreakers was a bad game, because I actually enjoyed LawBreakers. I had a chance to play it.
That was the next thing I was going to say. Did anybody get a chance to play it? But it is Cliffy B. He's got that reputation, and that's what he was going on. Obviously,
I would say it was a good game. It was a fast-paced game. It was very fluid. It had some unique gameplay elements to it, some that's never been done before. But at the end of the day, I think, because of the market that he was, he brought his game out in, it kind of killed it on its own and killed his company in the process. It's not necessarily what he did. And this includes not putting it on Xbox, because at the end of the day, you want your game with more eyes and more controllers. But if why wouldn't he put it on the best online infrastructure around? It makes more sense as opposed to PlayStation.
Absolutely, and you guys got to think about too. There's been a whole bunch of them, like these hero shooters or whatever, these arena shooters. Not only is there a lot of them, but a lot of them have failed too. Like you take a big one such as
the majority have failed.
Yeah, no, exactly. But take for example a high-profile one, Battleborn, for example, from Gearbox. That one came out and then it just fell flat. Like nobody was interested in it, and a lot of people just saw it as an Overwatch ripoff in a lot of ways. And yeah, these games don't last
Invader,
long.
that's another game that I really enjoyed. Was the one that you were speaking about, Battleborn. I really enjoyed that game, especially the co-op element to it.
But could you have guessed that he would have had the success? I mean, I thought he would have been successful. Like I said, again, it's Cliffy B. He's got a great reputation for making multiplayer games, and I would have never guessed that he would have failed at this. But yeah, we live and we learn.
It didn't help that he made some in the comments that he did while he was
that
making
was
Jailbreakers. There was a lot of resistance. Like people were. Even if he would have launched on the Xbox platform, some of his comments, he may have, kind of rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah, I think the Xbox community would have gave a little bit more leeway to the game, or a little bit more, benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
His ego, man, was really just kind of real distasteful. Some of how he was responding. Some of these are fans. These kids are kids. People are, going at him. They're kids. I think he'd have been better off just ignoring it. And, he was so concerned about recouping his money and his workers and this and that. Just kind of stay chill, promote the game, and that's it. But he just kept going back and forth. And I just think it became childish to where even, like I said, Mike Ybarra came out and was like, hey, these teenagers are doing this too. You're complaining about how hard it is to, to develop, for, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox at the same time. And he kind of shut him down. It was kind of
he didn't shut him down. He kind of trolled him. I mean, let's be fair. LawBreakers' budget and Boss Key's budget is not a teenager's budget. At the end of the day, you have more on the line as opposed to some teenager making a game in his basement.
He could have easily walked out with Phil on an E3 stage. There's that game they just finally closed that finally I think went under. What was that game? They had that weird bearded guy that was announcing the game like it was a game competition. It was a E3. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember
exactly. That game is gone. And even if that game made it, he could have came out on stage, showed his off for at least a smidge, a small part, and that could have blown up. Oh, it's Cliffy with Xbox. Like fans would have got hyped for it. At least there would have been, it didn't seem like there was that much hype going into it from the PlayStation and PC side.
Yeah, like but you got to remember, we're the few. We're not the majority. A lot of these people don't go to people who, like Cliffy B who make games. They don't know who Sergei Miyamoto is. They don't know who Yuji Naka is. So at the end of the day, they're going to just play a game that's great, and again, Fortnite and PUBG, they built a culture, literally a culture, and it's a way of life almost to some people. And it came out at a bad time, and it got eaten up by everything else.
Oh, absolutely.
I really tried to find a screenshot of some of his tweets that he was going back and forth with, and and Mike Ybarra. No, it was pretty good. If I remember correctly, it was a pretty nice little firm smack on the hand, Jeremy. Like I said, like I'm trying to go through because I screenshotted some of this stuff and couldn't believe it. Like he really shut him down. Despite what you say,
he needed really some buzz around the game. That was his issue. Like if he had some, but then you would have people talking about his game. Oh, it's his next big thing. You kind of had that, but it was from the PlayStation side, and I don't think a lot of those games.
A lot of it takes money. You can't just go to Microsoft and go, hey guys, let me do a E3 presentation. No, you can't do that.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you can. Like I just said, that game that no one has even played in their life. They had a budget. They had enough of a budget to get on Microsoft stage, and there was I don't even think they ever finished the game. Whatever that heck that game was called, it was like a battle arena, kind of like a Fortnite. But
I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a business. They pay for airtime, they pay for real estate, and at the time, Lawbreakers and Bosky didn't have any of that. So,
how many times did they show Below? Every E3.
But that was a game
ID
coming
at Xbox.
exclusive.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a little bit of a
too,
different
which is-
situation.
Yeah.
Plus, they had to go back to the drawing board with that game too, if I'm not mistaken. Capybara.
Yeah.
They released a couple of games after that announcement, and then they just they had to adjust. Yeah, but Below took a damn while.
They could have showed a minute trailer for Lawbreakers, and it would have got buzz because they could have just had Cliffy or say from Cliffy Beat like on E3 stage coming like exclusive. He was willing to go to exclusive with one. What's going to get more buzz and more of your name? That's the thing, more of your name in social media and out there because you're a small game, so you need that out there.
At the time, the shock
And this install base was small on both sides anyway.
No,
It's already a small
at the time, he had a lot of buzz, and whether it was negative or not, some could say that negative buzz or negative media is just as good as positive media because, at the end of the day, people were talking about his game on social media, of all the shit he was talking about. He was talking shit. That's
You're
what he
spot
was
on,
doing.
Jeremy. You're spot on because I remember, they were saying, Gears is dead anyway. This is the next big thing. Lock it up. Make it exclusive for PlayStation. But easy to play Monday morning quarterback. On hindsight of things, I think it would have been a better decision for him to put it on all platforms. And
I agree.
Kind of delayed it a little bit, because I really wanted to play the game. The trailer looked awesome. So that's how
the game's good. I like the game. I thought it was great.
But this would have been a situation where, like, Xbox Game Pass was announced. Was it in? Well, it came out June 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and Lawbreakers came out in August of the same year. So a couple of months difference. That game, it would have benefited so much from being in an Xbox Game Pass just to have that exposure to that much of a player base, because a lot of people, even right off the get-go, were buying into Xbox Game Pass. You look
could have played it sweetly. I'm sorry to cut you off. He could have just went right for the console war BS. It was like, you know what, it's gonna be cross-play. Let you guys duke it out. Like, he could have played that really nice and smooth and just be like, it's gonna be cross-play and just have us just go at it. They're already saying that this is the next big thing anyway, as far as first-person shooters. So,
well, I understand him wanting to go for the install base of the PlayStation 4. I totally get that, and I understand where his ambitions were. But at the same time, as Fastback is saying, Xbox is known for its multiplayer and its multiplayer shooters that a lot of people would have been playing that game. I'm not saying a lot of people would have stuck around, but at the same time, a lot of people on the Xbox infrastructure would have been playing that game.
Hey, can I throw one thing out in this conversation, please, friends? Could you imagine the difference in this conversation if Cliffy B had access to Game Pass with Lawbreakers, whatever the hell it was called?
Jailbreakers.
Yeah, we go around hacking cell phones. I don't know, dude. I never. Okay, so I'm sorry, I missed that boat. I never played Battleborn. Definitely missed Jailbreakers. I got sucked into Overwatch about a year and a half ago. Yes, it's a great game, awesome game. I'm looking forward to Overwatch 2. But definitely, I'm not out there trying to play every arena shooter and its grandmother. So if you were trying to get me to switch arena shooters, you better have God's gift to arena shooters.
Yep.
So,
and I think that's at the end of the day, I think that was it. Getting eaten alive by some of these games that were entrenched in the culture. Just.
No, definitely. And did you guys see the game that came out right after Lawbreakers from Bosky? It was the Radical Heights. What was it? A lot of people called it just a mere cash-in because I mean, it was battle royale, and it looked a lot like games like The Culling, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and Fortnite, and they released it really. It was really rough, and critics are, well, that name alone, critic, they were very critical of the game, to say the least, and it got ripped and immediately.
But this goes back to the question. If you don't mind, it goes back to the question I asked. What would happen if like Cliffy B came out today with a title like LawBreakers and put it in Xbox Game Pass or just Microsoft Game Pass? Game Pass.
He would have had more. He would have had more of a fighting chance. However, I still wouldn't have thought it would have. It would have made it because of that. But yeah, it would have had more legs, definitely.
Well, just look at something such as, we talk a lot about, in the previous month, Bleeding Edge, for example. And that's granted, it's a first party game and it went in there day one, but it's a game that's slowly growing, and it's developed this definitely a fan base for it. A multiplayer arena hero shooter, melee combat.
There's active users to give it the pulse, like Sea of Thieves, despite what, some of us may think of it when it initially came out, or Rainbow Six Siege. You build on the world, you develop something, you build on the world, you got these active users, and you expand, and you tweak here, you tune there, and you got yourself a hit. That's just been like the new thing with this generation.
I think his other game after LawBreakers had more upside to it, and that game was Radical Heights. I thought the gameplay was unique enough to where it could make a splash in the market. However, he ran out of money. His whole studio ran out of money. But yeah, I think that had more of a upside than his previous installment.
Well, what do you guys think now, though? You think, is there room for him in the industry right now? So right now, I think he's doing like plays or something, if I'm not mistaken, or screenwriting or something like that. So, but like for him to come back into the industry, like how would you guys feel if he came back into Gears?
This is the issue with Cliffy B. It's not even an issue. I think the gaming industry in general has no place for personalities like Cliffy B, because he's too, how can I put it? He's too brash. He's too confident. I guess you could say. Maybe that's a bad word, but it rubs people. His confidence rubs people the wrong way.
Whoa, wait! Can we say that?
Who's the guy? I call him being just.
Who's the guy that did Death Stranding? What's the guy? Who's the guy that did that?
No! Come on.
This is not.
I'm not saying he's Kojima, but I'm saying Kojima definitely walks around with a confident personality.
No, you know what I mean. He just rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is Cliffy, maybe he's burned some bridges. We don't know exactly everything that went on. And I think that's why he's in a later point in his life where he doesn't want to do game design anymore. Maybe he burnt some bridges and he can't get what he once had back. I have no idea. I'm just guessing, but I think that where there's smoke, there's fire to that. Because how many times has people be pissed off on Twitter, whether it was some studio, or I've seen studios go at Cliffy B.
But he's not the only one too. Think of
he's not the only one.
Hideo, whatever, the guy who was making Scalebound and his attitude. I just think he needs to shut up. Just be quiet. Just be quiet. I don't think
Cliffy's a whole different. Cliffy's a whole different beast. These guys are underground. With the guy you say about Platinum Games, this guy, he was more of he had that shit face at E3 and didn't talk to any. But again, some of these guys, it's just different with Cliffy.
But I don't think.
Not that I don't mind, because Cliffy's always been nice to me. Every time I got a chance to meet him, he was very respectful, and to me, he was a great guy. But you know, you can see on his tweets. I think it just, you know, it just rubs people the wrong way. You can see it with my tweet.
I want to read his book.
You know, you guys, some of you guys know me on a more personal level, and if you didn't know me, you know, you can say I'm a dick on Twitter. I'm a dick anyway, but you know, based off my tweets, you can say I'm an asshole or a dick. You know, but you guys know how I really am. So I think the same applies with
We
Cliff.
expect that from you.
Yeah.
A fluffy Care Bear that likes
It's like literally in your name.
You know, that's all. He just wants his muffin, and he's good to go, man. So
Exactly, my pistachio muffin.
But like,
yeah.
you know, I honestly think this industry is huge, and I do think that Cliffy's got like a great mind. And if you could just step away from Twitter, social media, because you didn't have all that back when the Gears 1, 2, and 3 were really out. Just make your game and just chill and let it speak for itself. You see how people react to you. Actions speak louder than words. Just chill out. You know, live your passion, because I think obviously he wants to come back into the industry again. He said he was done with making games. He's done. He's retired. Blah blah blah. Can't take it anymore. Simmer down. Make your games and just, you know, pat yourself on the back behind the scenes if you want to do that. That's it. Because I mean, it's a lot of, I mean, people, you know, every day, every time I turn around, there's some studio hiring somebody. They're taking one person from one studio, bringing it to the other. I don't care if you're Microsoft to Xbox or Xbox to Sony or whatever. You're going back and forth, but I just don't think that there's that much talent out there. And he's a talented guy. He's obviously creative, and you just, you know, I can accept his faults. If he accepts his faults and, you know, and just says he wants to come back in and make a game and just focus on that and not anything that's happening on social media, then I'm for it, man. You know, and what's happening with the Gears franchise right now? Gears Tactic, I heard, was really awesome. What if he decided to come back and let's not throw him under the bus? What if he decides to come back and say, hey, let's go for Gears 6 and put my spin on it, and you never know what we can get out of it. It can be a hit. I love Rod. Rod Ferguson's a great guy, and you know, he was also there, you know, walking with him, you know, making Gears in that franchise. He was there from the beginning.
I'll pass. I think the coalition needs to just, after they just finish 6, move on to a new IP. Like,
I agree.
The multiplayer community in that with Gears, they don't know what they want. Imagine, you know, if there's a Twitter in Gears 1. That game was it was groundbreaking at the time for what it was, but the problems that were in that game, like there was cheaters in every game, people with crab walking, like the glitches in the game were a crazy amount. But
when you play Gears on the 360,
but there was just no like big social media like Twitter presence at that time. Even with Gears 3, people weren't on Twitter like that. And so there was a ton of problems that people were pissed about Gears with, like the sawed off. They hated it. They were like, this isn't fair. Now it's just letting people, new people winning. That's what people complained with Gears 5, because they're like, oh, GamePass, they're getting in new people. Oh, now the Lancers, you know, just taking you down in 2 hits. It's like it's a cover-based shooter.
It's hard. It's
cover.
It's hard to get the game.
You know what?
It's very difficult to get a game balance in multiplayer.
So if one person says they hate it and everyone says they hate it, you can't even put a demo out now or even a trailer for a game that could be a hit, you know, without somebody just ripping it to shreds on social media. Like, this is why they don't want to do shit anyway.
There's like 50 YouTube videos back in the day about the sawed off and how like cheater it was, and people just pissing and moaning about it. Like, you can go back and look at that stuff. You can still
it's true.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Or I remember, what was it, the digger as well? People thought was cheap. I think that's what it was called, that thing that went underneath the ground. I thought it was kind of a unique weapon, but yeah, I mean, there's always things you can go back and forth on with regards to Gears. That being said, though, with regards to Cliffy, like, I don't know, like there's things I like about him, and then there's things that I don't know. It's hard to really give him a pass on. I mean, I do believe generally in being forgiving, but at the same time, I mean, he's gone on tirades and blocking sprees. I mean, I wish I could, you know, shoot him a message or something, but I'm blocked. I think he went on like this weird tirade years ago and blocked me and Tim, if I'm not mistaken. But he does have an interesting mind. I think he is definitely there does seem to be some kind of an interest with regards to Gears. I think he does want to give them like a couple of pointers from the sounds of things, but he hasn't had any communication from the coalition. So it'll be very curious moving forward.
Not to us, to no be us. I mean, he probably has been talking back and forth to them. I think he's still friends with a lot of those people.
See, I am with Megatron, and I think Cliffy B should be kind of, if he's bring him in as a consultant. Don't give him any real power. Just let him be a consultant to help kind of shape the direction of things and just see how it goes. And if it goes positive, go from there and think about how to integrate him into the company.
Not give them any power. I don't know. You know, he's got that ego.
Well, with as a consultant role, all you can really do is steer direction and say, "Hey, I would do this, I would do that," but it's not like you have the ability to make decisions. But obviously, he would. But what are they going to do? That's one thing I like about Cliffy B's personality. Kind of also might give him the ability to come up with some ideas that will be totally original and unique to Cliffy B.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you got to put him in a position of power where he can be accountable for the fuck ups as well as the praises. Because if it does well, then it's like, oh, that was my idea. You see why I should be consulting? That's me right there. That's me right there. You love that part? That's me. You know.
I think the coalition's issues. They're trying to tell a story of an IP that some of the fan base just doesn't want. They just want all the old people back. Well, sorry, they already killed off one of the best main characters. So. When's he going to team up with Baird? I like Baird. I don't want to hear him.
I don't think that's it. I think they want compelling characters and a compelling world to believe in and a story to match it. That's my biggest problem with it, because to me, the coalition is one of these developers that have still yet to get over the hump as a top tier developer in the industry. I know I'll say what you want about some of these people that. They go to the coalition for gameplay or control support or whatnot, but in my opinion, they're not up there with the best of the best, not even close.
Well, they're also trying to tell a story within something they didn't create themselves, and they're pretty still a new studio. That's what also people forget. But they have probably the best HDR out of anybody, so they have some amazing people doing great work. I think maybe if they just allowed to create and do their own story completely separate from the Gears, I think that's where they could really shine.
It's interesting because it's kind of a 343 Industries kind of a situation too. Yep. It's their second game in the franchise. The first game that they did, Gears 4, they were trying to be like how do I put it, like proper stewards, I would say, to the franchise, but yet still trying to do something new.
In the series, Gears, Halo 4, the multiplayer is what people were pissed
about. Gears 4.
Oh, it actually had a story in Halo 4, unlike a lot of the others where like you had to go like kind of read about it.
Well,
they actually used like actual like cutscenes and mocap and actually like other ones that actually are more story driven games did back that. But mainly people's problem was the multiplayer, doing the loadouts and trying to be kind of Call of Duty-esque. That's where
I'm sorry, but the first act in Gears 4 was probably the worst
I'm talking
all
about
time.
Halo 4.
Okay.
But just that comparison.
I like one of the best campaigns in the series.
Okay, I would agree with you up until the later levels. I think halfway through the game, some of the level design and the level choices were very repetitive. And it just lost steam. I would agree with you to a certain extent. But the story and just some of the later levels just did not cut it as far as that goes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said, though. Like, I mean, the situation is pretty similar. And who knows, guys, like going back to Cliffy B in particular, maybe he could lend, a few ideas to the coalition and maybe they could benefit from it. But it is true, though. The guy does have kind of an inflated ego. Hopefully he's calmed down a bit. But you know what, guys? It's definitely interesting to see going forward what will happen with Cliffy. And, it's just interesting his LawBreakers comments. But moving on, fellas, and I'm going to head to another topic. And Platinum Games It just always seems to be making the news on the Xbox front, whether good or bad. They just kind of come up. And recently, the studio stated that Microsoft hasn't approached them yet about any acquisition talks. Now, of course, Microsoft, they're on a studio spending spree, and Phil Spencer in recent months has even said that he'd like to get a Japanese game developer, of course, right? However, Platinum recently went on to suggest that it would not be interested in selling the studio. Platinum's Atsushi Inaba said that the studio at this stage would likely be the opposite of what they're trying to achieve. Now, Shock, I'm going to start with you on this. With all that's been said from Platinum, would Microsoft be crazy enough to try to approach them with some kind of an offer?
Possibly, but I think there's just probably too much bad blood there. But and you're not even having some of their. I guess that was a Kickstarter game, the Wonderful 101. That's not coming to Xbox, but yeah, I would think there's so many out there that they could easily go to that are smaller studios that they've had their issues with them before because they've taken on so many projects. But I don't know. That's a tough one. Especially for the price they'd be asking for it. I would rather seek out some talent.
They're worth. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not the judge.
Seek out some talent for a lower, price, asking price, and
I wonder what a company like that would be worth. Platinum Games.
Platinum Games is probably worth about, I want to say, anywhere from $1.5 to $2 billion.
But do they have any of their own IP?
Exactly.
I think everybody owns their IP. Any IP, any game they've made.
I forget exactly. They have some nice IP they've created from scratch. However, because what Sega's published a lot of their stuff, I think they own the rights to a lot of their material. And then I'm not sure exactly who else. I think I want to say Capcom is another one. I think they've helped them in the past with publishing.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly.
Well, Nintendo's been a big partner with them on Astral Chain. They got involved with Bayonetta. What else do we have? Yeah. Like there's, they have that game coming out with Square Enix as publisher, Babylon's Fall. So
now, don't get me wrong. They're definitely an attractive developer. These guys make A+ quality titles. I mean, some of their older work, especially, have been some of the greatest games some of the greatest games of all time as far as gameplay goes. I know Bayonetta 1 or 2 were masterpieces. I don't know if any of you have finished those titles, but I think they're masterpieces.
Yeah, Vanquish.
Vanquish was a very, very good game that I would like to see.
Transformers Generation, that G1 nostalgia.
That's owned by Sega, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they do own that game.
Yeah,
but
now there was an interesting rumor actually going back about Vanquish that I think it was a year ago. I don't think it ever got dispelled, but there was a rumor going around about Vanquish 2 and that Microsoft was somehow involved with that. It would be like an exclusive. That never really went away. Just interesting how that came up. And of course, Platinum's history with Microsoft is just kind of funny how that all kind of came out. I forget which journalist started that.
And you know what? I think the bad blood. Okay, the fans were pissed about the whole Scalebound thing. Number one, because I think the game showed a little promise and a little how can I put it? But anyway,
something different on their
portfolio. Yeah, it was something different. Exactly. Yeah, good point, Shock. But at the end of the day, they made very good games, and people know that Platinum Games, what they were capable of doing. I think that what kind of eked or irked the hardcore gamer was the fact that Platinum Games was a top tier developer in many people's eyes, and they just gave up. Microsoft just gave up on it.
Which is more of a reason why maybe they may want to, still consider. Hey, would you want to, come join the Xbox studios? Because I mean, you want to shut people up and make a big splash. Hey, make the announcement. With saying, hey, Platinum Games is all aboard now, and Scalebound is coming. Don't say you're developing the game. Don't say anything about it. Just develop it behind the scenes.
Does that mean Bayonetta 3 would come to the Xbox?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, because Nintendo's producing it.
Oh, well, then never how that all works. That's not me,
Or
but
publishing.
I'm seeing them. They announced the Scalebound. They're reopening that door. I'd be happy with it. So
I'll never forget the E3 where he was there. The director was there, and he just had a shit face. He wasn't saying hi to any Xbox fans. He wasn't doing any interviews. Maybe
seen him on Twitter.
Yeah, maybe he knew that this game was, Microsoft was going to cancel it, and lo and behold, 7 months later,
that was like 2 years before, though. When he
you're talking about Kamea.
He came out there like
I'm sorry,
2 years before I think it was canceled.
I
don't know if he came out on that last time.
He blocked. I think he blocked Phil. He was blocking. They made it all over YouTube. They've had several YouTubes all over YouTube, him blocking people just for the hell of it. You had a guy go out there all the way out to Japan just to meet with him, to get blocked, to get unblocked so he could block him. I saw it. It just was like maybe 2 months ago.
I remember Giant Bomb's stream on that last E3 showing of it, and Jeff Gerstmann's like, guys, I don't think this game looks too good. When they had all that multiplayer part of the game, where it's like 4 people trying to take on a boss. And it was really choppy.
To be fair, a lot of the E3 stuff gets built exclusively for E3. They don't even download the code to the game, obviously for privacy reasons, so it could get hacked. But back in the days, especially now, they create specific pieces just for E3. So you have a development team creating like a demo-like experience just for E3. So if that didn't look good, maybe they were having.
And at that time, the game was like about 7 or 8 months out from release. At that point, when it was supposed to release.
It got delayed, 3 times? 4?
Well, probably. Quite a bit. Now, guys, I do have to say this, though, that Microsoft have made headway with studios that, they've had problems with. For example, I have to bring up Obsidian, because originally Xbox One, they had a launch title in development for them, and it got canceled. Stormlands, it was supposed to be an RPG that was supposed to be within like this first 6 months. And it affected them. It affected Obsidian, and there was a little bit of bad blood from what I was to understand and from reading some articles. But they eventually patched things up. I mean, look at they got acquired. You look at Double Fine, and Double Fine, originally they had made some downloadable games for the Xbox 360 that were actually really good, like Trenched. There was a few other games.
Trench was great.
Yeah, Trench was a fantastic game. I love Double Fine games. I think they made 3 or 4 exclusive games, if I'm not mistaken, for them. They even made a Kinect game that I think was called Happy Action Theater, and it was one of the better Kinect games too. So lots of talent there. But after that, I remember Tim Schafer not saying any, just not pleasant things about Xbox, to say the least. And they eventually fixed things, and they were acquired. So, I mean, is it out of the realm of possibility for them to not patch things up?
Yeah,
talks.
That's what I was going to say.
Money talks, man. Let me tell you, when they were funding, Scalebound, how do you think those scaled up? In my opinion, how do you think those other games got made?
I think you have to have two. You have to have 2 willing parties, though. You can't. Somebody with, I would say, someone like Platinum, like the director from Platinum, is a different story. Maybe that's why they have such a bad relationship, and they're not willing to make headway as far as that goes. But who knows?
Maybe get Itagaki to make a, Ninja Gaiden.
Itagaki was great. He can't work on Ninja Gaiden at all anymore.
Well, not Ninja Gaiden, but he can make a copy of it.
Everyone else is doing it.
Well, successor, that's what everybody's doing.
I've always floated out the idea, if Xbox wanted to cheat a bit and get a studio, he has a studio, I believe, a new studio in Rome at the moment, in Rome, Italy. And I don't know, he's been kind of active on like Facebook, on Twitter, and he's been teasing some stuff a little bit. So I don't know. I mean, they could always work something out there technically. if they wanted.
Maybe give him, a studio and see if he, with his relationship, can poach some of the Team Ninja talent that isn't making like Neo games.
Well, let me tell you something.
Xbox.
After Itagaki left, Tecmo's never been the same ever at all. So I think when he left, I think a lot of the talent left with him. Who knows where they went? But it'd be interesting to see Itagaki coming back and making a splash in the industry. I think the industry would definitely embrace him, Itagaki, because he's. I've had a chance to meet him too back in the day. I forget what year, but he signed. I still have my signature or his signature on a copy of Ninja Gaiden that is sitting in my storage.
Very
It still
nice.
baffles my mind that Neo's not on Xbox when you had that Ninja Gaiden. It's kind of the successor right now, but you had that whole kind of base.
Wait, which game?
Neo. It's made by Team Ninja, who made Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah.
You have that base that was Ninja Gaiden. It's kind of known more for Xbox, even though they went to PlayStation like always a year later with the Sigma version. But it's that game would easily sell like hotcakes on Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Ninja Gaiden was a whole new level. This game was one of the greatest games ever made. I don't know if you guys had a chance to finish Ninja Gaiden. But now I can go back and play it on Xbox now, and it still has the same impact as it did, 15 to 20 years ago when it came out. I forgot how long it was.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2, I don't think it was better, but the weapons in there were the crazy design of all the different weapons you could play with that Itagaki made was awesome.
But I remember back in the days, Ninja Gaiden was Xbox's answer to Zelda, and I think he just did an amazing job making an adult Zelda type style game where people embraced it, and I think it was still to this day is considered one of the greatest games ever made. The original Ninja Gaiden.
Absolutely. Now, guys, I just gotta ask: does Xbox? Do they still need to really address that Japanese developer issue? Do they really need to grab a Japanese studio?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
Just because the Sony's getting so many more, especially with now the Chinese devs that they're working with, they're just kind of getting destroyed in that area. So they have at least their own studio to produce their own first party. So at least they have kind of a presence, even though they're not getting a lot of them.
If you can buy a top tier Japanese studio, you can buy a significant portion of the Japanese market by doing so. Because you're going to have games on Xbox going to PC where, you don't have to buy a console to do so.
Why buy the studio? Just create a studio. I mean, is that hard?
No, because when you buy a studio, you're buying the IPs. And when you buy, for example, when you buy Sega, there's a lot of IPs that are just treasures that people want.
In certain instances where Microsoft still owns the IP, like let's say Blue Dragon, right? They own that IP. Am I correct or no?
I think they do.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so what happens when they create a studio and get some people that originated,
Lost Odyssey,
developed that game, like Lost Odyssey, Mistwalker Studios? Isn't that a direction they can go? You take that talent and you gain success, and then you bring back those people like you always refer to as what the 360's done. They had a lot of those Japanese games. You start to reel those people back in, or at least you don't have them on board with.
But you know what, Megatron? That's what Phil's done. He's went out and he's bought well-known developers, but he's also bought some no names where they can create their own destiny and their own legacy by creating some memorable experiences. They've done that, and I think now you see them. They buy these smaller studios, and they're going out and building on these smaller studios, putting talent in them, which is important.
That's what he set out to do. He said that on Twitter.
This is where it always makes me upset. Where it's like, this is what Don could have done when the guy, I forget his name, that made Lost Odyssey. He went on to make Last Story for the Wii. And there was another game that was supposed to be exclusive to Xbox where it just kind of fell to the wayside. But you could have easily gave him money. Hey, we're going to give you your own studio. Do what you want, create whatever you want. Like you
Well, right now he can
with some top tier talent last gen, and we wouldn't be in this issue. We wouldn't have this first party problem at Xbox waiting for their games. Hopefully, this E3 or June, July event.
It'd be awesome.
They show something.
It'd be great.
But,
if he comes out, they come out at the Tokyo Game Show, for 2020, September, and say, hey, announce the studio then. That would be great.
Tokyo Game Show's canceled.
Oh, well, I mean, are they going to do well, I know it's canceled.
Or like something.
When I meant like a live event, like how they're doing with, E3.
Mm-hmm,
I don't know. Yeah. I didn't really look into the research, but
if they just say that they created like a new Japanese like the studio in Japan, I think that's big enough news as well.
Yeah.
At least they're going to be poaching talent in the area. I think that's key as well.
I think it's going to be curious to see if what the global publishing does and if that comes into play with any Japanese studios. I mean, they must have secured some kind of an exclusive from them going forward. They know how crucial the global market is going forward. So,
and that's why buying Sega makes sense for Microsoft. I'm not saying that it's happening or gonna. I want that because you're in a way you're cornering the market. You're cutting off what Sony can make as far as that goes. The exclusives that they get on their platform.
That'd be a huge boost to Game Pass.
It'd be a huge boost to Game Pass. You automatically get Sega's vast library, and you get their IP that are worth more than what their gaming company's worth.
Imagine if they made Persona exclusive. That's huge in Japan. And you're making that integrated with xCloud where they love mobile market, and you don't need to worry about lag in a game like Persona.
Well, not only that is, can't you do something with the anime as far as Persona goes? You can do something with the anime, maybe creating a TV series or whatnot, or do other forms of media as opposed to just games.
Mm-hmm. So I have a bit of a theory, guys. I've mentioned this a little bit before, I think, on other shows, but Microsoft has picked up developers that, I mean, some of them haven't been struggling, but if you look at their track record with how they bought some studios like In Exile, Obsidian, Double Fine, these are studios that used Kickstarter a lot because they needed the funding to kickstart these games. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did this with a smaller Japanese studio, and I'll give you an example. Do you guys know who Swery or Swery65 is?
Yes, he created, his Pseudo 51, basically the development team that did D4. He also did Deadly Premonitions. He's also done a nice game. I forgot the name of it, damn it. But anyway, he's a very talented developer that has worked with Xbox in the past. And I look at him on the same playing field as again, he needs the talent and funding behind him, which I think he can create just memorable experiences as far as that goes. And he loves Xbox. You already know that.
Absolutely. And I have this theory that he's done games recently on Kickstarter as well. There was one called The Good Life, for example, and that one got...
What about, I think he made Shadow of the Dam, right? Or something like that. I forgot what it was called. Shadows of the Dam? That was the 360 title?
I believe so, yes. I believe he did.
That was an amazing Resident Evil type game that it's still underrated in my book. As far as that goes.
What was that game called? The Good Life, you said?
Yes, The Good Life. And yeah, that game's won some awards. I think it's finished, if I'm not mistaken, but it is a Kickstarter game. And they also have Deadly Premonition 2 coming out. His studio is called White. White for the Switch. And his studio is called White Owl, if I'm not mistaken. White Owl would be, in my opinion, that would be an interesting studio for them to grab because, like Jeremy just stated, it's an Xbox friendly, one of the more Xbox friendly Japanese game developers out there, and I could just see them being a good fit. I think that would be a very likely studio for them. Maybe not a Platinum, maybe not some of the larger ones, but I think if you look at Xbox's track record, that would be a an interesting start for them grabbing a Japanese game developer that would kind of need the support and the funding in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and say what you will about Donnie, I think he did a few nice things while he was there, and having some of these games like Crimson Dragon and D4 was one of them, because it didn't appeal to a wide audience in the States, but at least he tried. You know what I mean? So give him credit for that, but not much credit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, fellas, I'm going to move on to what'll be probably our last topic of the night. And CD Projekt Red, they're a pretty mammoth-sized studio, and it looks like they're looking to be the most valuable game company in Europe at this time. Now, in a recent report, CD Projekt Red is said to be worth a whopping 8 billion euros, or just a bit above 8 billion euros. Now, in comparison, well-known publisher Ubisoft has a market value of, well, just roughly 7.82 billion euros. So they're pretty close, but honestly, this is a huge achievement for CD Projekt Red, considering that they don't put out all that many games. Now, Jeremy, I'll head over to you first on this one, since I know how much of an admiration you have for the studio. What exactly has made CD Projekt Red so successful?
And it's a hard one, because it's a lot of things, but I'd say this, to think that, CD Projekt Red was founded and created in 1994, and I think they got it for like $2,000. Now they're worth $8 billion with over 1,000 employees. And really the magic started with like The Witcher 2, the Assassins of Kings. The game developed almost a cult following, and it was still really wasn't well known, like especially in the States. But you guys know the writer of the books. I forget his freaking name. Andrzej Sapkowski, I think his name is. He's the creator of the books, and the characters were fully realized in the games. They did loosely based off the books, but for the most part, the characters remained intact. So that being said, CD Projekt Red was able to capture what the stories, some of the stories that were really interesting. And I think, like all leading developers today, you could say that it wasn't a success. Like CD Projekt Red wasn't a success until Witcher 3 got it off the ground. You could say with a lot of, some of these Take-Two developers, with Grand Theft Auto, they got their first break, just to name one or two. But they were really able to grow and create what they really wanted, as far as gaming goes. But people love Geralt and The Witcher. I think after Cyberpunk, they're going to be known like the top 3 leading developers in the world, if not already. They got Witcher 4, which is currently in the works, which is easily going to be the most anticipated game of all time by far. Like, it's not even going to be close. Surpassing everything before it. Just name a game, it's going to surpass everything before it. Even juggernauts like Halo and Zelda and Mario, nothing's going to have more anticipation than The Witcher 4 coming out. So, interesting story back when I was able to DM Phil before I got blocked. But I sent in message to him in jest, but I wasn't really joking. And I told him, I really, really like CD Projekt Red. And he just laughs in hopes to maybe one day get his head, to buy them. But, it's some of the things I was able to communicate to Phil when I was able to communicate with them. And, so that's my story.
Anybody play The Witcher 2, which debuted on the
Yes,
Xbox 360?
I passed it. Excellent game. And it is one of my favorite games of all time. Mm-hmm. It's more of a linear game than part 3, and a more focused story, because there's no wiggle room to go to another town and start another story. There's no wiggle room. It's a pretty straightforward game. but it's a much harder. It's not as accessible as Witcher 3. So that's why, I mean, in the first year, it sold 1.7 million copies, which is pretty good for a developer like CD Projekt Red at the time. But amazing game. I mean, for those who've played it, understand that it's not a game to be, it's one of these games where you can't pass up.
Oh man, I feel like such a dope for not even finishing.
You know what?
Witcher 3.
Go back and finish part 2 first. Right now, it's completely enhanced for the Xbox One. So on your X,
they had it on Games for Gold too. I think they gave it away for Games for Gold, which was
So even if you have to buy it, it's just worth the purchase. Bottom line.
Dude,
I don't care what you have to pay for.
So gun ho on The Witcher 3. I'm like, I'm gonna play it on the hardest setting. And I bought the God, I played the first once you got into it past, the opening.
Yeah.
And you go into the woods and you're searching around for things. I could listen. It took me an hour just to get an inch into the game because it was so damn hard that I gave up. And now I'm gonna replay the game eventually, but I'm not gonna have it as hard.
Well, now The Witcher is just so popular. I mean, you see with the TV show coming out, and now with part 4 coming out, the writer is out of the way now. They were able to give him royalties, on the game and the TV show. He's making his money before he dies. But I think the Witcher franchise is in a really good place. I mean, man, if I'm telling you, if Xbox can buy them, that'd be an amazing.
Dude, did anybody see the fake tweet, Phil? And he made the announcement. I'm like that they were bringing CD Projekt Red on board to Microsoft.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Listen, I got caught out there, but I put it in the inbox in the group chat. But I've seen people put it on Front Street. I'm like, no, that's not the real thing. But I was blown away. I'm like, you're kidding me. You're kidding me, right? And then I look at this, the fake Twitter handle. I'm like, oh my gosh,
if Phil.
Luckily, the first tweet I saw was the second one, which was a dead giveaway because it was talking about multiplayer battle royale. I was like, oh, this sounds
weird. I've always liked the fantasy world, of The Witcher, the whole Lord of the Rings thing. I know it's not exactly the same, but I've always liked that. I've always liked that fantasy world of The Witcher. But then you got Cyberpunk 2077. I'm like, I'm curious to see.
Megatron. That game is going to be absolutely huge. Huge. There's nothing. I mean, the reason why Grand Theft Auto was so popular, number one, it's created its own, but the online aspect of Grand Theft Auto has made it, by far one of the more popular, games of all time. But at the end of the day, as far as a single player experience goes, there's nothing that's going to come close to Cyberpunk.
We'll see, because I want to know. I'm really kind of curious of the success of what Cyberpunk is going to have, and because you did say that the most anticipated game you think period may be The Witcher 4. So I kind of want to know where people are going to want to, what side of the fence they're going to sit on. If it's going to be that futuristic world, I'm pretty sure it's going to be deep, or is it going to be The Witcher? But either way, I mean, that's just like to be able to have those two games out of one studio. I mean, this is like kind of reminds me of the days where, but it's out of one studio. But when you had the BioShocks and the Mass Effects, they're kind of there. I think they're at that level.
I think it reminds me of back in the day when there was Skyrim competing with Fallout New Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess because they're from the same internal team.
Same internal deals, and they're total different. Even though they're pretty much an open world, total different settings, total different fan bases.
They weren't competing. Excuse me. They weren't competing. They weren't competing at all. It has Cookie actually.
He just
dude, they weren't competing at all. Skyrim set the bar in terms of just what was possible in terms of an open world. Say what you want about Fallout 3. Say what you want about Fallout New Vegas, but even to this day, you see the appeal of Skyrim just today, it's still like just a regular game came out and just millions and millions and millions of people are still playing that goddamn game years and years and years later.
Skyrim was one of the first games I bought digitally, and I loved it. That was one of the first games I just played it and played it. I had to get my lazy ass up to put it in the disc. It was right there on my hard drive, and that's when I really started falling in love with digital downloads. It was Skyrim.
See, that's where I started becoming a picture junkie, you would call it, because as soon as I found out that they were doing a enhanced version of Skyrim for the Xbox One, especially when it came to the Xbox One X, I went out and bought that game day one, pre-ordered it.
Cool. I mean, just to give you an idea, Skyrim on the Switch is still $60.
Well, I paid for it $60 the day it came out on the Xbox One. That's what I mean.
Right.
I think I've paid $60 for Skyrim at least 3 or 4 times in my life.
Tetris on the Game Boy, Jeremy, it's still $60. It's probably double that. You know, Nintendo always keeps their value and stuff. But yeah, I see what you're saying, man. Nintendo doesn't ever losing their value.
Nintendo takes a Donkey Kong game that's $20 on the Wii U officially, and then releases at $60, $10 more than it was originally when it released, and all they add was an easy mode, not like some deluxe version. They added Funky Kong.
I don't know, man. Nintendo's notorious. To me, I figured out their scheme. They rip people off, man. You know, those Pokemon games, those fucking Pokemon games.
They charge you separately for cloud storage for Pokemon.
Yeah.
To store your
same
Pokemon in the
goddamn
cloud.
game since yellow and
yeah,
blue.
what is that? I've never played a Pokemon game, but the red and blue, and diamond and circle. Like, what is all that about?
Pearl.
They make you buy 2 different ones to get the full experience.
No, come on. You have to get the Seafoam edition. Come on.
They hide hard mode for Metroid Samus Returns. You have to buy an amiibo to unlock the very hard mode. What?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, that's factual.
Oh my god! I'm
This is
sorry.
People are buying them damn things like hotcakes.
Oh, Nintendo doesn't have DLC. That's DLC right there. You just have to go buy a toy.
Oh,
Yep.
Nintendo has DLC. That's
Could
for
you
sure.
imagine Larry Herb coming out on this week on Xbox with like a doll? If you buy this action figure, you can get this mode in a game.
But it's Game Pass is so horrible. It's forcing all these microtransactions in games.
Listen,
Yet no one says anything about Amiibo.
Yeah, how does Nintendo get away with that shit? By the way,
it's Nintendo. They are selling like gangbusters right now. Everything
they're one of the
more
more profitable video game companies. That's for sure. They're definitely. But to be
Same thing in
fair,
the Breath of the Wild to unlock.
When Breath of the Wild came out, they had more hard copies of Breath of the Wild than they had Nintendo Switches out in the market when that first came out. That was crazy, bro. Like it's just.
Well, it's because people couldn't get a Switch and they were just buying the game they wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nintendo's always.
But you had to buy
been
Amiibo
more
for that
profitable.
to unlock.
They're like
The
the neutral
outfits.
zone. Nintendo's like the neutral zone. You just allowed to accept them and then take it for what it is. Because I have my Nintendo Switch and I love it, but I hardly ever touch it.
yeah, I allow Nintendo to take it with me with no lube whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yes, every single day.
So, Animal Crossing New Leaf, for example, I don't know if you guys saw how many units it sold. It came out the same day as Doom Eternal, and holy crap, New Leaf has sold close to 13 million copies already.
Damn.
They are on they're on the View. They're on Bloomberg. When I'm listening to Bloomberg, you know,
I think they also have to thank Corona on that one.
They're everywhere. They people are talking about Animal Crossing all over the place. So it's just shit selling, man.
Yeah, being the locked in doors really helped that one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, it's just like
Perfect timing.
I blame Tom Nook personally. That guy is a bloody.
It's a gangster.
That
I
guy's
bought it, but I haven't played it since.
Centurion still has no idea who he is.
Actually, I've heard rumors of Tom Nook, and I've heard that guy runs a pretty good racket.
He does actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everybody wants a piece of that Nookie cookie.
I don't know about that. Wow.
That
Holy cow.
That was a good one.
Oh
And
man.
Did
no,
this
I
become
do
a
not
furry
own Animal
podcast?
Crossing.
Nookie cookie.
That's why I'm all when you guys are over here talking about the Japanese studios, I'm just over here like kind of being quiet because I'm like, oh my god, they are saying names I have never heard before. I don't even want to try to interject into this.
Well, guys, going back to CD Projekt Red, though, very successful company. I would say that they've made strategically a lot of the right moves. Like, for example,
yeah.
they have their own store, for example, right? They have their own distribution service.
GOG.
Was it GOG? Yeah, GOG Connected, and man, that I think it's just behind Steam, like just for the amount of units that it sells. I think it's one of the more popular distribution services out there for digital games. And yeah, I mean, that does very well for them. They've invested very much, obviously, in the Witcher series, Cyberpunk. They're very engaged in their with their fan base. And yeah, they do quality over quantity. Really, they take their time, and I think that the player bases realize that. You can even tell, even in the Switch ports, like they didn't have to do such a good job, but they did. So
And their DLC was like almost game of the year material when they released the Blood and Wine.
Fozzie in the chat. Tom Nook the crook.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Nookie cookie.
Dude,
Well, he is.
My kids just scared the shit out of some deer right now. Oh my god. They're walking in the front lawn. Kids open up the window and there's this deer just car almost hit him.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's dinner. You're out
Dang.
there in the Midwest, scoop them up. Scoop them and plate them.
I don't know. I mean, I hope you don't make them watch Bambi after that. Eee. But yeah, all right, fellas. I think that about does everything for tonight. I think we were going to conclude tonight's show. And you know what, everyone on the panel, some very good points tonight. And, we had a pretty good variety of topics. Honestly, guys, awesome show. And you know what? I got to shout out everyone that came out to rock with us in the chat. People like Logic Wins, Kedrian Hardy, Victor. I'm seeing some new faces here. Hey, Starbuck United. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're doing well in the hospital. I hope you get out ASAP. Shizno Elite, Andrew Wilkins. I know we had Jago in here earlier. Sorry about your Twitter ban, bud. Hope that gets reinstated soon. Over the Last of Us stuff. Not cool. Not liking what Naughty Dog's been doing. Mill, thanks for joining. And a whole bunch of other people I saw. One Away Dragons TV. Hey, how you doing, bud? And
My
Mike
boy.
from NLG. Oh, yeah, we got a lot of really cool people in here. Thanks for checking us out, fellas. Remember, everyone, that, hey, if you enjoyed tonight's show, then smash that like button, share the show out, and subscribe.
Smash it.
Oh, yeah, you got to smash that shit. And, hey, just make sure you're following the show. Subscribe. All right. Now we're going to get on to some of the outros. Start with you, Megatron. Great chat tonight, as always, pal. Where can everybody find you?
Oh, man, as always, just like last week, hit me up on Twitter, Megatron_1975. You can find me on Mixer and on Xbox Live. Megatron1. It's, everybody have a nice, safe holiday weekend. It's Memorial Day. We're going to be remembering some of the veterans and the sacrifices they made. And we'll play some games tonight because it feels great that I'm off tomorrow. So, hey, hit me up. It's the perfect time to hit me up. Play some games.
What do you want to play?
Stream.
What are we going to play?
Whatever you want to play, Jeremy. I am free.
Well, do you have Red Bull? I mean, because I don't want you to fall asleep.
I am wide awake, bro. I am wide awake.
But 5 minutes from now, that could change.
That's true, but I had this nice tall can of Mike's Hard lemonade mango.
Oh, you're gonna be
I'm drunk right now. I'm ready, bro. No, I'm good, man. I had such a relaxing Sunday. I did a little bit of work today, but it's just I'm ready to play some games, man. It's just you and me both. We've been busy, and I haven't really played anything. I played Shaolin versus Wu-Tang. Everybody check that out. It's not the best game in the world, as far as fighting is concerned, but it really hits that nostalgia bug and that old school, karate. I love it. I love that stuff. The music, they got everything perfect, man. Just playing that game just makes me smile.
It has a great soundtrack too.
Oh yeah, man. It's all classic stuff in there from back in the day, man. It's just yeah.
To all my people's incarcerated. Oh. For those who don't make it, who don't fake it. All right.
Nice. Jeremy laying down the beat.
Montana rap came over here.
It's so funny you mentioned that. I gotta bring up Runaway Dragons because I was on, he's in the chat right now, and I think it was Saturday night. I think it was. I was like, yo,
he fell asleep too. Jesus Christ.
And I know I'm mumbling, and I'm like, yo, I'm done. Like, and he's high energy. He's playing 2K, and Steph Curry's just like hitting these threes, and all I heard was threes, and I'm trying to stay awake, and I'm just lights out. So my bad went away. It's so funny. It's the truth, man. It's just like. That's it, man. I was.
That's why I'm kind of hesitant to play games with you, man. My experience sucks.
Yeah, no, I'm so awake though right now, man. We had a good show. I'm all high strung. I still want to talk about Cliffy. I'm thinking, what if happened? I mean, I know I'm dragging now, but what if Cliffy decides to say, "Hey, I'm going to sign with PlayStation"? Imagine that backlash.
Well,
and how Twitter would be.
What happens if that Mike's Hard Lemonade starts kicking in and you start falling asleep on me, buddy, again?
All right, man. I'm done talking.
All right. Shock Buddy, you're up next. Where can everybody find you at, pal?
Yeah, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter. Easy Shock on Xbox Live. Definitely a weird Sunday. I think this is the first Sunday since 1911, since they created the Indy 500, that there's no Indy 500 today. So
yeah.
Yeah, nobody cares about cars going in circles. Shock. Oh, not Derby. Never mind. That's not.
Yeah, it's the only most populated sporting event in the entire world. Yeah, no one cares about it. Yeah. But yeah, no, good show. A lot of good topics. But thanks.
All right, Shock. Good stuff. The Indy is a good event. Jeremy, I'll move on to you next. Where can everybody find you, brother? Besides in Montana on the Great Plains.
Tell us, Muffin.
You can find me choking on a chocolate chip cookie for one. That was harsh. You can find me on Xbox Live, Downer Space J. You can also find me on Twitter. It's Lone Master Who 07. Message me, talk shit, bring it if you're going to be doing that. But I love you guys, especially in chat. Some of you I hate, but most of you I love. Thank you.
Check out. You got to check out. You guys got to meet Downer. That is such a front. He's one of the nicest dudes ever. Check him out, man. Don't let all other BS, stick. Such a great dude. You are a good dude, Downer.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just don't poke the bear, otherwise he'll come right at you. Let's see. Oh, and of course, Centurion Pal, 50 Cent. Where can everybody find you at?
You can always find me on Twitter, Xbox Live, and YouTube at Centurion1307. I also do the Shop Podcast on Saturdays, and I'm right here with you guys every Sunday night on TXR.
Absolutely. Now, you see, you should have went with it and said you can find me at the club.
Yeah, right. You can find me at the club. G-Unit.
Oh, my God.
Dude, I come from that era where, you weren't cool in high school unless you had a 50 Cent album.
Oh, my God.
Hey, Centurion, props to you, though. You finally got a piece of your own content out. So congratulations.
Yeah, check that out, everyone.
It took you long enough, but hey, you made one. So I give you credit where credit's due.
Now I'm working on one about Scorn. And then, definitely got. I want to actually kind of do the Bright Memory one. That game looks pretty freaking sick. What do you guys think?
We should talk about it. You should do like some. Well, we'll brainstorm behind the scenes. I got an idea.
Oh, okay, yeah, definitely. I want us to do more together. I want us to play games together. Heck, I enjoy making content. I just enjoy being part of this whole little group and the community in general.
Centurion, first you need to send me a picture of you. I promise I won't masturbate to it, but send me one.
That sounds kind of like you're profiling me.
Just send me a picture, bro. I gotta see who I'm talking to and put a face to the voice.
See, I'm almost curious to be like, so why don't you describe what you think the face to the voice is? Oh man, I've had people say I sound different than the way I look.
Like Shockley, Shockley is like this massive white boy, but in reality, he's actually, just the voice, smooth and sexy, kind of like Megatron.
I don't know what Shockley looks out either. I don't know what we should all go on camera one day.
That's my face. It just has paint on it.
Funny.
One of these days.
What, we have a podcast where we all have cameras?
This shit ain't gonna never end.
Dude, you're gonna make the day that comes, I would have to go out and buy a camera. I don't own a camera, so.
Well, that's why.
You don't have to connect?
Huh? A Connect? No, I do not have a Connect.
Now, Tim had to drop out earlier, but of course you can find him on the RDX podcast on Tuesdays and xCloud Tim Dog on Twitter. So, you can holler at your boy Tim Dog there. Damn right.
I have a secret for the listeners. If you tweet Tim enough and you get on his nerves, he gets what you call a Twitter headache, which it actually affects his brain. So tweet him as much as you can, DM him, get on his nerves, and he'll get a Twitter headache, which drives him crazy, and he'll get off Twitter.
Yeah.
Damn right. Twitter headache Tim. I don't know. He's at it at like all points of the day. So if he didn't have a headache already, I'd be surprised. But guys, of course, I'm Invader. You guys can find me on my channel, my YouTube channel, Invader Gaming. And of course, I'm pretty active on Twitter at Invader_1986. Of course, guys, it was a fantastic show tonight. And we can't wait to see you all next Sunday evening. It's been great, fellas. And have a safe holiday weekend. So have a good night, folks.
Be safe.